Hello, all my dear students. I hope that you will be very safe and healthy at your home. So here, let us discuss with the one of the very interesting chapter and very funny chapter is there. That is the traveling with grandfather's Jew. You heard about the many people they travel with their pet animal by their private transport. No, so with their transport, with their private support, they are moving by that car, moving by any other vehicles, but they have their own private transport. They are most of all what I in my experience. So I found people always used to travel with their doggy, pet doggies is there. So sometime I feel, but it's a very surprising when you find the person who is traveling with the tiger, python, and squirrel, and many more animal which is the very dangerous. They could harm anyone at any time, and they are using the public transport. Means traveling by public transport. It's a surprising thing. So very funny, very interesting lesson. You come to the, you can see the one of the person, great person. You can see he is a grandfather. You can look how he looks like grandfather, and just in front of him, the grandmother and narrator. He was seated. He was as a grandson. You can say so. Grandfather, grandmother, and that boy is the narrator, and you can see that Timothy, one of the tiger, is there, and in below the berth you can see one of the tiffin box is there. So inside the tiffin box there is a one of the python. Python means what? You can see a large snake. It's a very dangerous. You are very well aware about this thing. So now let us come to know this topic. It's a very very interesting topic, and you become very happy when you come to know about this traveling with grandfather's Jew. So here, all my dear students, you come to know that is the miss all abroad seek the Popeye grandfather's pet parrot as the family climbed aboard the Lucknow Express. They were traveling by the Lucknow Express, and that time means the journey was very they don't know what kind of journey will be for the long period, but they assume that we successfully reach at the place, because this journey is not an ordinary journey. Even though grandfather was have a well confident कि I am just traveling with my pet Timothy, that tiger, and python and squirrel and lizard also. So by this moving by the Dehradun to Lucknow, and grandfather that is insisted on taking that insisted on taking her parrot along. Grandfather and I insisted on the bringing our pet too, and a teenage tiger, grandfathers, and a small squirrel mine. And but we thought it prudent to leave the python behind. So python was a very secret. Why python is secret here? Python means a large snake. No. So why he becomes secret? Because grandmother disliked this thing, and they were just they never revealed that ki, okay, python is along with them. They are just hide that python in the tiffin box. And now you can you find that there are almost so 4 5 animals creatures are there, and grandmother, grandfather, and including with the narrator as a writer. Now in what way the journey was started, and one of the very fantastic compartment you can see there. And then in those days trains in India were not so crowded, miscrowded, and it was possible to travel with a variety of creature. Means that time means almost people. Now you can see the present time, if the train is there in this corona period also, you see that there is miss availability ticket is not there. No, or miss there is no availability of the ticket, and people they suffer a lot. And we face the challenges means there is they can't occupy the seat proper way, and they are waiting for the 2 months 3 months. So much crowd in this modern time. But when the grandfathers day was very very excellent day, majority of people were very less when they traveled by the train. Now this is what small a variety of creatures. Grandfather had decided to do things in the style by traveling first class. No, he got the first class compartment, so it is quite well for the grandfather. Then, so we had a fourth berth compartment of our own, just like a room. A small room was there, just like a missed four berth, and they were easily they can occupy the seat very well. And narrator was very happy that his grandfather is handling each and every thing. Now, after that, means here, then traveling by the first compartment, an entire berth to himself. Later, every Timothy, the tiger, had an entire bird to himself. He was so large, you can see at on the screen. It means how the Timothy was nicely sleeping in one berth. He has taken own berth, or single berth he has taken, and he captured. Now, what happened? Later, everyone agreed that Timothy behaved perfectly throughout the journey, as writer said. And now, after that, even the guard admitted that he could not have asked for a better passenger. And no stealing from vendors. Vendors means what? The people, those who are coming with the selling small things like all food items, they are the vendors. And now, means he never, he never missed trouble to anyone. He never hurted anyone, and he was just sleeping nicely, sleeping and behaving in a well manner, and he has not given the any kinds of disturbance. He is not creating the disturbance there. He was just silent. And now what happened? No shouting at the police, and no breaking of the railway property, and no spitting on the platform. Spitting was when we just miss liquid come in your mouth and you spit in the ground. That was also he was not doing. Now very sincere, very politely, the such a creature, tiger, what they can do, you know it very well. And but here the grandfather's tiger Timothy, he given the name as a Timothy, and he was quite well. And some surprising thing, no, other passengers who were traveling by the train, they were shocking that he means even such a creature, animal creature is there, and even grandfather is also have a well confident that he means my creature is just like a family member. Then they never keep any kinds of disturbance. They never do the any kinds of disturbance to all. So he promised to everyone, those who are in the first class compartment, and very few people were there. And then what, after the all the same, the journey was not without incident. And before we reached Lucknow, and that time what happened, there was excitement enough for everyone. Everybody was looking at the grandfather's means what preparation he has done before. And that time, because grandfather was along with his Jew, means all the animals, all the creatures there. And to begin with the Popeye, Popeye means parrot, no, paid parrot was there, and objected to vendors and other people poking their hands in the through the parrot small one. They are what they are doing. They are very they are always have an excited way. They are behaving like a children, no. And in that way, windows before the train had moved off their station, he had nibbed two fingers and that picked a ticket inspector's ear. So what they always do the naughtiness over there. The parrot means the small creature, they always do. And now, but that also not hurted to the that inspector. And then after that, no sooner had the train started moving the chains, my squirrel emerged from the pocket to examine his surroundings. Before I could stop him, he was out of the compartment and door and scurrying along the corridor. Means what? To what? Moving here and there, running here and there. To know squirrel what they do. Always you see the that means tree, banyan tree. You can see in the mango trees. So what the squirrel, they are moving here and there. They never stopped at one place. Now they were doing the same thing. After that, Miss Chips discovered that the train was a squirrel's paradise. Yes, that the first class compartment, and that was just a well opportunity, good opportunity for the squirrel to move here and there. Then almost all the passengers bought large quantities of the roasted and peanuts before the train pulled out, and he had no difficulties in making friends with both children and grown ups, and it was an hour before we returned to the compartment, and his tummy means that almost bursting. Means what? It's the meaning is there for this paragraph. The squirrel become the source of entertainment for the people. Few passengers were there, even the small children. They always have a, they're very curious about when they see the small creatures. They always enjoying with them. They are playing with them. The squirrel become the source of entertainment for all, and not only the grandfather, other people, those who are seated in that compartment, first class compartment, they were also looking after the animals. Okay, you, they are providing the peanuts, chips also, and all kinds of food items. They also have the snacks and little bit, you know it very well, kurkure and all these things they were providing each and everything. Okay, so squirrel was enjoying with them, with the childrens also. Now after that, I think I'll go to sleep, said grandmother. Grandmother now prepared to sleep, and she got a one berth over there, and covering herself with a blanket and stretching out on the berth opposite Timothy's. It's been a tiring day. That means you know how the you are pulling the that part to stretch the berth, and she occupied this well seat over there, and she was prepared to sleep, and she over means covered the blanket with her head. Now what happened after that? Then okay, now aren't you going to eat anything? Said grandfather. Grandfather was telling that I hope that you become hungry now. Let us do some breakfast. Who said this? Grandfather. Then what happened? After that, I'm not hungry. I had some soup before we left, and you too help yourself from the tiffin basket. If you want, Grandpa, if you want anything, you will take down, because I have had my soup, and that time I have no because that is more than enough for me. And now you become hungry, you can take, no problem. You can take from the tiffin box. Now what happened then? Grandmother dozed off. Grandmother was nicely have a deep sleep on that time. She was sleeping, and even Popayo started nodding, lulled to sleep by the clackety clack of the wheels and steady puffing of the steam engine. So you know that ki what the always Popayo parrot, you can see how they are nicely in a one of the, if you find the any cage, and that the place is that just like a handle, they were seated over there, and then nicely Popeye was also sleeping like grandmother. Okay, so after that, well, I'm hungry, I said. What did granny make for us? Grandpa, really grandpa father was really hungry, and he was searching for the miss where the food item was there. And as we always do by the journey by the train, so we have an craze for that कि हम जल्दी भूखे हो जाते हैं, and we are just searching for the food, and lots of enjoyment na when we travel by the train. It's a long journey na, not a little bit. So now what happened after that? You know, sandwich, boiled egg, a roasted chicken, gosher pie, and then it's all in the tiffin basket under your berth. You can see who told this one. Narrator. Narrator said Granny means grandmother. She prepared all the breakfast for you and me also, and your pet also. Okay, so you just search and take it from there. Now, what happened? It all the tiffin, and then I tugged at the large basket and dragged it into the center of the compartment, and the straps were loosely tied. No sooner had I undone them then the lid flew open, and I let it out, gasp of the surprise. Now tiffin box already open. And that time what happened? Kimen's grandfather has taken some little bit much some items, food items were made by the granny, and he has taken from the bird. Now what happened? In the basket was grandfather's pet python. That was a very dangerous creature. You know the pet python. Pet python is the name given by the that grandfather. But the if you see the python, large snake like asgar, आपने देखा होगा. So instead of that, it was a very dangerous, no, and it was inside the. You can see on my screen that python is there, and it's a very dangerous whether it is pet or anything else, but looks like that is see the images of the that python that it was inside the tiffin box. Now what happened then? Okay, in the basket, the pet python in the basket was grandfather's pet python, curled up contentedly on the remains of our dinner, and grandmother had insisted that we leave the python behind, and grandfather had let it loose in the garden, and somehow it managed to snuggle itself into the tiffin basket. Grandmother's advice was that don't bring the python with us because it will harm to anyone. Okay, that is our pet, but what the people will think, and they will saw and they will do the maybe something will happen in the long journey. But grandpa has not listened, and he managed very secretly from the grandmother. Now what happened finally? And then, well, what are you staring at? And asked grandfather from his corner. It's the python, I said, and that it has finished all our dinner. No? So whatever dinner has been made by the grandmother, python eaten all. उसने सब खा लिया. Then what happened? After that, grandfather joined me, and together we looked down at what remained of the food. And we were preparing that. Narrator was telling that, let us, grandpa, whatever things left, let us eat it. Otherwise, means Python will eat all, and we become hungry. And now, what happened? Then the after that, so now Pythons don't chew, they swallow. What the meaning of chew? Chew मतलब जो हम चबाते हैं, and swallow means निगल जाना. So swallow means always, Python always swallow. And that time what happened? He outlined along the length of the large snake and short body were the distinctive shapes of the chicken and a pie and six boiled eggs, and we couldn't make out the ham sandwich. He presumably these had been eaten too. Means he has taken a lot. Means by this means the Python was so heavy that little bit food is nothing for him. But grandfather arranged everything for the Python. Now what happened? Because there was an sign, you can see here, there was a sign of them in the basket. Only a few apples remained. Thank God, few apples were there. Miss Python not eaten that apple. Now, what happened? Evidently, the Python did not care for apples. Miss Python, what he expect, you know it very well, and he always haunted the animals and other things now. And grandfather nabbed the basket shut and pushed it back beneath the berth. Grandpa has taken the apple and some other food items, whatever had been left by the python, and he just again he do the same thing. He pushed the tiffin box inside the berth. Then what happened? Then okay, well, I'm hungry. Okay, we must not let grandmother see him, he said. She might think we brought him along on purpose. So grandfather was just terrified for some moment, and he told the narrator that don't reveal this thing to your grandmother, otherwise she will shout on me, because she first time she advised me not to bring the python with us, but I did the same thing. I was just opposite. I had not given the value of her words, so maybe some problem will create. Okay, so don't reveal her, don't give the message in such a way. Okay, so he told the narrator. Then thanks. Okay, well, I'm hungry, I complained. Just then the chips returned from the one of the forays and presented me with the peanuts. Foray means that is the trip is there. Okay, whatever means they I means little bit food item for the snacks they were taking now. And after that, now it is all. Thanks, I said. If you keep bringing me peanuts all night, I must last until morning. And but it was not long before I felt sleepy, Grandfather had begun to nod off. Now again after the grandmother, grandfather was also trying to sleep. And he was just nodding off means he was silently, he was have a deep breath on that time. And now what happened? And the only one who was wide awake was the squirrel. Squirrel, you never seen the squirrel was sleeping. No, they were moving here and there. Then, after that, still intent on the investing distance compartments, a little after midnight, there was a great clamor at the end of the corridor. What the clamor is there? That is the shouting. What the sound is coming. Now, grandfather and I woke up. No, all three were sleeping, including with the narrator. And then suddenly, what happened? A sound came. A miss glamour happened in the first class compartment. And then after that, what happened? I woke up. Timothy growled in his sleep, and Popayo made complaining noisily. Suddenly there were cries of "Stop, stop, stop" like this way. So what is that? It means Timothy, he was very silent over there. If he found the sound is coming, he was growling like tiger. कैसे बोलता है, you know that. And parrot is also why he will when he come to know the sound, so he was also tan 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 tan. He was telling like that. Such a means in that special compartment, all the noise of creatures bursting the complete silent atmosphere. And now, what happened? Suddenly, then, grandfather was on his feet in a moment. He looked under the berth. The tiffin basket was empty. Oh my God! It's a very very dangerous situation. Now, grandpa sometime become very upset to see that tiffin box open means what? Python came out. And then what will happen? All the people, those who are inside the compartment, they were running. No, they when they see the such a large snake come out from the tiffin box, so what the people, ordinary people do, you can imagine very well. Now, after that Pathons out, he said, and dashed out of our compartment in his pajamas, and I was close behind. And he was just running behind the pajamas means whether the grandfather was lying, he was just means sleeping. That time he was just moving from there. And then what happened? About a dozen passengers were bunched together outside the washroom door. Anything wrong? Said grandfather casually. Grandfather had no intention. He was not having the fear because he knows that it is my pet animal and I know it very well. He will not harm anyone. He will not bite anyone. So what he said, miss all the passengers, dozen of passengers, they were running out. They were just out from the washroom and they were frightened. They haven't fear. Oh my God, this will bite. It is a dangerous animal came out from the tiffin box. So the grandpa said, did my this pet has hurted anyone? No, don't worry about that. Don't be panic. And after that, we can't get into the toilet, said someone. There is a huge snake inside. Because that time grandpa was not attention where my python was. So one of the passengers said, you see that we can't go inside the washroom because there is a large snake. You can see. And then let me took a look, said grandfather. Okay, मुझे देखने दो. Let me see. Then I know all about the snacks. And what happened? The passengers made a way for him, and he entered the washroom to find the Python curled up in the wash basin. After its heavy meal, it had become thirsty, and finding the means what the lid of the tiffin box easy to pry up, and had set out in the search of water. So nothing is wrong. Nothing wrong with the that pattern. Simply that means when you take the overload, when you taken your food, then after half an hour, 20 minutes, you need water. He become thirsty after a heavy meal. He become thirsty. He was searching for the water. That's why he came out. Otherwise, Miss Grandpa didn't notice about the water inside the tiffin box. And that time, he when he came out, he was searching the water. He has not disturbed anyone. Now, what happened? Grandfather gathered up the sleepy, overwhelmed Pathon and stepped out of the washroom, and the passengers hastily made what the way for them. Miss Grandpa just pulled out that Pathon with him, and he took the Pathon in his arm, and very nicely. And everybody was looking at what a daring of the grandfather. Means he is not going to have a fear with such a large snake. And then what happened? Then after that, what happened? The nothing to worry about, said grandfather cheerfully. It is just a harmless young python. ये तो एक छोटा सा young python है, वो harmless है. You won't believe that means he will never harm you. He will never disturb you. Please keep quiet, all of you. Behave in a normal way, and everything will okay. Don't worry. I'm just taking him out from the washroom. He was telling like this simply. And then after that, what happened? Then harmless young python, he had his dinner already, and so no one is in any danger. And he marched back to our compartment with the python and in his arm. As soon as I was inside, the bolted the door. Grandmother was sitting up on the berth. So what happened? Python have not created the problem, but the problem now arises when the grandmother was sitting and she was rolling to the grandfather. What you did now? Tell me the answer my question. I told you don't bring the python, but you did your own self. This is completely wrong. Now grandmother become very angry to the grandfather. Why you bring the python here? As I told you before, but you never listen to me. So both were means have a quarreling, fighting with each other. The grandmother was very angry on that time. So what happened? Nothing to worry about, said grandfather cheerfully. Okay, that's completed. Grandmother was sitting on the berth. I knew you do something foolish behind my back, she scolded. And you told me you are the get rid of the creature, and all the time you have been hiding it from me. And then grandmother tried to explain that we had nothing to do with it the python had. So means grandmother's only question is that कि why you bring that python here? Because you are taking the journey in the public transport, in the railway, and you find that all the passengers they become panic, they are worried about that. If anything harm to that passenger, who will responsible for that? She become very angry to the grandfather because she told before that don't bring the python with us. Now after that what happened? Then so after that smuggled itself into the tiffin basket, but the grandmother was unconvinced. What will Mabel do when she see it? Mabel means where grandfather was going along with his family. Mabel's family, they were waiting for the grandfather's family over there, and Mabel was disliked the python. See, grandmother know it very well. Then what happened? She cried despairingly, and my aunt Mabel was a school teacher in Lucknow. My aunt means narrator was telling that my auntie Mr. Mabel was a school teacher. She disliked the python, and the grandmother was worried about only Miss Mabel what she think about it. And then we won't let her see. And the Lucknow she was going to share our new house. Now we were means we are going in her new house, and that time and she was terrified of all reptiles, particularly snakes. We won't let her see it, said grandfather, but back it goes to the tiffin box basket. Grandpa said, don't worry my dear, I will manage. Whether the Mr. I know that Mrs. Mabel she dislikes the reptiles, snakes, and the python, but I will manage. You don't worry. Now after that he just put the python inside the tiffin box. Early next morning the train steamed into the Lucknow. Now train reached at the Lucknow. That time and Aunt Mabel was on the platform to receive us. Aunt Mabel has arrived on that time. Grandmother let all passengers get off before he emerged from the compartment with Timothy on a chain. I had chipped in my pocket, suitcase in both hands. Papayo stayed perched on the grandmother's shoulder. Papayo on the grandmother's shoulder. Timothy was just along with the grandfather. And grandmother's shoulder side the busy platform with considerable distrust. And Aunt Mabel, a lover of good food, immediately spotted the tiffin box said, and picked it up and said, it is not very heavy. I'll carry it out to the taxi. I hope you have kept something for me. as a whole chicken, I said. Miss Mabel was fond of this kind of chicken food and all these things. She had taken the tiffin box and she hoped that maybe grandmother has made something for me. Then we hardly ate anything, said grandfather. It's all your auntie. We had not ate all yours. That is yours. Okay. So Miss Mabel become very happy on that time. Oh, good, exclaimed Aunt Mabel. It has been ages since I tasted something cooked by your grandmother. And after that, there was no getting the basket away from her. And glancing at it, I thought I saw the lid bulging, but grandfather had tried it down quite and firmly this time, and there was a little likelihood of its suddenly bursting open. What happened? Kimi's grandfather was only managing the situation. When the if Python will come out from the tiffin box, so what will happen to the Miss Mabel? Because she disliked the reptiles snack, she disliked the Python. If she opened the that tiffin box, what will happen if the python will come out? So you also frightened na. If I see that if my friend is coming to meet with me, so what I do, okay, if I'm fond of the that tiffin box and lunch and all the things, if I found that there is some other the cockroach are there, if I found the some other snack is there, so I will just throw out the tiffin for a moment. No, I become terrified. The same thing happened to the Miss Mabel, and that time grandfather was managing each and everything, but the situation become very different. Now you come at enormous 1950 Corvette taxi. You see the taxi up is the number is there. That is the 1950 and was welting outside the station, and the family tumbled into it. Okay, they were managing how to sit in the proper seat, and Timothy got onto the back seat. Timothy जाके वो back seat पे बैठ गया. And then other one leaving enough room for the grandfather and me. And then taxi driver was also become nervous to see that he what kind of creature in my taxi, and he frightened for some time. Grandpa was telling that don't worry, I'll just manage. Okay. So Aunt Mabel, so what happened, Aunt Mabel sat in front with the grandfather. Miss Aunt Mabel was in the front and the tiffin basket on her lap. And tell the taxi driver where to take us, dear, said grandmother. He is looking rather nervous. And Aunt Mabel gave instruction to the driver, and the taxi shot off in a cloud of dust. And well, here we go, said grandfather, and I'm looking forward to settling into the new house. And Popayo perched proudly on grandmother's shoulder, and kept on suspicious eye on the quivering tiffin box. And what the things is going to be happen that there is no issue for the other small creature. There was only the issue of the Python, because Miss Mabel, when she come to know that Python is there, so in what way she behaved, we can't imagine. Now all abroad, and he squared all abroad. When we got to our new house, we found a light breakfast waiting for us on the dining table. So Miss Mabel, she prepared in advance for the lunch because they are coming from the Miss Dehradun to Lucknow. It's a long journey. So she prepared in advance, and little breakfast was waiting on the dining table. They were there, and it isn't much, said Aunt Mabel. Mabel said, okay, it's okay for everyone, but we will supplement with the content of your hamper. And placing the basket on the table, she removed the lid. When we keep the tiffin box, who? Narrator. Narrator said when we lit that tiffin box on the table, so she was just try to open it. Who? Mabel. She was waiting for the lunch on that chicken made by the grandmother, and she don't know what thing happened to her. Let us see. The python was half asleep. अजगर तो कभी सोता नहीं है, you know that, वो half sleep, वो आधा ही सोता है, and just like a doggies, and he was half asleep. And then after that, with an apple in his mouth, he was eating apple. Then Aunt Mabel was no Eve to be tempted. She fainted away. But she became very frightened. Oh my God! See, when she opened the tiffin basket, that time she saw the python and she became terrified for a minute. So means what a miss dangerous situation for her. Whether she disliked this snack and grandfather, grandmother bring me such a breakfast for me or such a delicious item for me as a python and see what happened. She fainted away. मैं पूरी तरह से बेहोश हो गई हूँ. And grandfather promptly picked up the python and took into the garden. Grandfather ने उसको उठाया, he has picked up and he taken away to the python to the garden, and then and dragged it over a branch of guava tree, because guava tree is always famous for the where the reptiles, snake, and that python they were just moving there. There's the house for the guava tree. Then when Aunt Mabel recovered, she insisted that there was a huge snake in the tiffin basket. पहले तो बेहोश हो गई. And when she appeared, she come to know that, oh my God, where is Pathon? I frightened. Miss, she was having a fear in her mind. And then after that, we showed her the empty basket. Okay, let us see, auntie. There is nothing. कुछ भी नहीं है यहाँ पे. आप डर गई, बेवजह डर गई. So miss, don't be panic. See that tiffin basket is empty. Nobody is here. Why you are so upset? Now you are setting things, said grandfather. Okay, whatever is we had managed well, and it must be the heat. I said. Grandmother said nothing. Grandmother, she become very angry with the grandfather, and she was very silent on that moment. But Popayo broke into the shriek of maniacal. What is the maniacal? Well, laughter, and soon everyone, including a slightly hysterical Aunt Mabel, was double with the laughter. In the end of the chapter, you see that all were laughing with the what kind of activity naughtiness has been shown by the Popayo means as a pet parrot, and he made the atmosphere as a laughter atmosphere on that time. Everybody was laughing. So I hope that everybody understood this chapter, and very interesting, very different chapter in front of us, and we are getting that this chapter is very, when you come to this chapter then you will find that I will never visit all, or I will never travel with the such kinds of creature in public transport as I promised. And what you will do, my dear students, you will think about yourself. So thank you for this part 1 of the this chapter, traveling with grandfather's Joe. Thank you and have a nice day all of you. So let us, I'll stop